Hello and welcome to I Wrote That, a podcast where we bring authors and industry experts together to discuss all things books. Today I'd like to welcome Patti Callahan. She's been a student, hairstylist, cocktail waitress, corporate professional, and now a small business owner. She's also an expert multitasker who has pursued a lifelong love of travel. She's completed her MBA and raised two amazing sons. In 2018, she launched Rio Wellness, an online platform dedicated to personal growth and self-care where she coordinates wellness retreats and creates custom travel itineraries for a boutique group of clients. Patti is an author of 2 novels plus a memoir and is currently working on her first murder mystery novel. Hi, Patti. How are you?
Hello, I'm great. Thank you.
I understand that you not only have one book, but you have 3 books that you would like to talk about today.
I have 3 books out, really excited. And then I just decided to go down a different path and I started a murder mystery too. So I'm having fun.
Is that a very different genre for you?
It's a very different genre to write. I read, I consume, I'm hooked on all kinds of like thrillers and the limited series things that you see all over Netflix and HBO Max and all those things right now. So I've always loved a good thriller. I've always loved a good mystery. When I read, I typically read a lot of mysteries, but it's my first time trying to write one. So here we go.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's such a fun topic when you start getting into your own genre. I put air quotes around that because your genre can be anything, what you write, what you read, what you watch.
Mm-hmm.
But when you step into the realm of reading what you read, how's that going for you? Or writing what you read, sorry, how's that going for you?
It's going great. I used to read a lot of books like on writing, and I would read a lot of like masterclass things that really successful authors would do and talk about their process. And I realized I'm just kind of non-traditional in every way. I can't do a traditional outline. I can't just plot it all out. I don't ever write in order. I just write whatever's working that day, and then I go back and feed it in. And it's been great. I've changed the murder weapon. It's like a clue game. I've changed the murder weapon and the murderer twice. But I feel like now we're kind of in a good spot and I know where it's going and it all makes sense and it all ties together. Because one of the things that drives me nuts is when an author doesn't tie up all the ends.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking for, well, why did this happen? And what was the triggering event? And this does not make sense. And how did they figure out this clue? And how did they know this was a red herring? And when those things aren't answered for me, I lose faith in that author's work, unfortunately. So it's hard to stay really excited and engaged when, the answers aren't there.
That's very cool. I love that you're from a cross sectional of genres because that's near and dear to my heart too. I've written in sci-fi, I've written my own murder mystery romance kind of novel. I don't think it'll ever see the light of day. It was just kind of like a for fun topic. You never know, maybe in a few years pick it up, dust it off. But what's it like writing in multiple genres?
Every genre feels true at the time I'm doing it. So with the first 2, just kind of, contemporary women's fiction kind of novels were really about inner work, finding identity, figuring out a mystery internally rather than a murder. Those were just, let's see if I can write a book. It's always been a dream. I want to write a novel. Let's just do it. So I dove in and do it. And similar to you, dove in and did it, excuse me. Didn't think it would ever see the light of day, but then I started getting really excited about it. I would let a few friends read bits and pieces and they were saying, great, this is wonderful. You found your voice. And, I'd gone and done a few seminars and some conferences on becoming a writer, becoming an author and what that was going to look like and what you need to do to put together a book and scene structure and all the really great foundational things. And it just made sense. And so then a couple of years later, I thought, well, hey, I did one, let's try another one, let's do it. And, the story idea came to me and I just expanded on it and it went. With the third one, the one that's came out last July, it actually started out as a journal. I wasn't intending to write a book. I'd taken almost 10 years, taken a break from writing. And this started out as a journal. And when I was looking back and reading it, I thought, this has got the makings. You've done a lot of digging here, a lot of work. This could turn into a really good memoir. So I used pandemic time to turn it into a memoir, and then worked with my publisher and a really fantastic editor and got it all put together. And it is, the most real personal thing, obviously, that I've ever written. And it's one of the things that I'm the most proud of. And it was great. But now I feel like, okay, the memoir is written. I don't need to write another memoir. Like, not that much has happened in the last 3 years. Not enough to fill a book anyway. And a murder mystery just seemed kind of fun, which sounds a little twisted to say. But so Kate White, I love her work because it's kind of a light, fluffy, fun beach read, but it's also a thriller. It's also a mystery. You're also trying to figure out who done it. But it's not haunting like memoirs can be. Mm-hmm. So it was just kind of a reset for me. It was great.
I think it's so interesting. You just said haunting the memoir can be. And I think there's kind of two things I want to touch on with that. Writing a memoir or an autobiography is incredibly therapeutic if you let it be.
Yes.
Was that your experience?
It was. And I also found at least with my story, I almost had to go back and like re-traumatize myself. Because you have to reopen all of those wounds. Sometimes these are fully healed scars and things that you're completely done with, but you have to cut them open and peel them back again to write accurately about it and to put yourself back in that place and experiencing those things. And it's incredibly therapeutic. So glad I did it. During the year that it took to write it, I kind of refelt all the things again though. So
yeah, because it's not about retelling, it's about refeeling.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
That's very cool. I know I'm working on my own memoir, and it's kind of the take on how motherhood has changed me and just kind of what it does to you. Mm-hmm. And I'm going along the lines of like, the broken mom or the way it broke me kind of a thing. And not in a negative sense, because that's not at all how I view parenthood. Yeah. But it does something to you. And I'm sure you found that in your journey too, that your process, you didn't even realize what it did to you until you start writing about it.
Yeah, it changes everything. I, and my kids know this, I never planned to have kids. I was raised in a really big family as the oldest sibling. I had no interest. I'd been taking care of babies and changing diapers and stuff for years by the time I graduated from high school. So it just wasn't, I didn't believe it was in my path. So my oldest, who's now 26, was a surprise. And it changed everything about my life. I wanted a second one right away. So the second one's like less than 2 years younger than him. And they became my life instantly, overnight. There's a chapter on motherhood in my memoir. And that was the one that they both reached out and were like, okay, we get it. I was always really open with them. They really open, really transparent. But it was the one time that I took the time to find like all of the words to talk about how real and transformative and everything that motherhood does to you. It changes everything about who you are. And if it doesn't, then bless you, I don't know how.
I don't know how. I think some people they go in it already being a mother, like your experience, for example, the opposite of they've been raising children their whole life. They can't wait to keep doing it. Right.
Yeah. That
was not my experience.
No, I wanted to travel and I wanted to write and I wanted to live and I wanted to do, all of the young independent women things, especially, as a child of the Gen X, child of the 80s. That's what I wanted. I wanted to work and I wanted to have control of my life and I wanted to go do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. And I knew that if I was a parent, I wouldn't be able to do that. So, okay, that's all right then. It wasn't anything that I was really anti-motherhood in any way. I was just choosing me more at that moment. It was very much about me and what I wanted to do and how I wanted to live my life. So then when I found out my first was on the way, I was like, all right, here we go. All in.
Change of plans.
Got to finish school, got to do these things, got to get everything set, got to get stable, got to figure out how we're going to pay for everything. Yeah. Changed everything overnight.
Yeah, it totally does. It totally does. You wrote your first book in 2011 is when it was published.
Yes.
Yeah. And it took you 4 years to write it. So your kids would have
4 years.
been
They were
teenage
young.
years?
No, they were, I started writing it in 2007. So they were tweens. They were 9, 10,
Tweens.
11, 12, right in that
Yeah.
age.
Yeah.
And
And
I did it
how was
when they were
that?
with their dads.
Oh, okay.
I was divorced. We had a joint custody, so every other week. And I was, broke single mom. So all the money I had went to doing things with them on the weekends and the times that I had them. So my non-kid weekends, I stayed home a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And you can only watch so much TV. So I thought, well, I've always wanted to write a book. Let's see if I can do it. By that point, I'd done a couple of conferences and kind of felt like I knew enough to be dangerous. So I dove in. And this is back when we still had like floppy disks. I had one of those little like computer disks I would take back and forth to my job with me. And I would work on it on my lunch breaks and, the occasional Friday afternoon when I wasn't getting anything else done at work. And then I would save everything and then bring the disk home and put it in my laptop at home. And yeah, way, way back.
Way, way back.
Way,
That's
way back.
cool.
Yeah.
You went to conferences back in the day too. What were they like?
They were incredible. So I used to have this thing where I would walk into Barnes and Noble and I would see all of these books, floor to ceiling practically, and think all of these people got paid to write a book. Why not me? So I never really felt like it was you have to be a lottery winner in order to do this. I would walk into bookstores and think all of these people got paid to write a book. I can get paid to write a book. So I had joined a book club that was sponsored through Barnes and Noble. And one of the people in the book club talked about this writers conference, Pikes Peak Writers Group. They were in Colorado Springs. And I looked them up and they were doing this conference that was focused with all these breakout sessions on all the things that I needed to learn how to do. And I wanted to know how to make a pitch to a publisher. I had no idea what the process was at the time. And this was back when you were still printing out the first chapter or the first 40 pages and sending it with the letter and, the postage alone. So I saved up and I went, and it changed everything. I met people at all different stages of their writing careers. I met a woman who was a best-selling romance novelist, and I'd never heard of her. And I loved that. I loved the idea that, here she was, super, super successful. Her publisher's telling her, when you have 1 million copies first print, you can stop doing press, but until then you need to do press. That's great. And I'd still never heard of her because privacy and anonymity, I love those things. And writers, I'd heard of Danielle Steele. I'd heard of a couple of other romance novelists, but I loved the idea that this woman had carved out this niche and she had made it her life. And she was super, super successful on her chosen path, but hadn't reached this point of fame where she couldn't just go out and live her life. She was fantastic. There were sessions on pacing. There were sessions on character development and plot. There were breakout sessions on approaching a publisher, sending all the materials to them, what to do and what not to do. And there was no question that was, off limits or too stupid to ask. So it was great. I did, I think 3 of those before I just figured I'd gotten everything out of them that I needed to. And now the fine tuning work that I need to do, I can do one-on-one with somebody.
Mm-hmm. That's very cool. With COVID being, over, hopefully,
Right?
those conferences are starting to come back now, like
Yeah.
20K, 20 books to 50 or something like that. I can't remember the exact title of it. I only just found out about this indie book conference that goes on in Vegas every year. And it's massive, apparently. It's all over Book Talk, or it was, when it was on.
Yeah.
And I just think that it's so underutilized. I think you were lucky in a sense that you had joined a club and you had found these things, but you were already showing interest, right? And I think it's for the people that really want to write a book but don't know where to start. They don't even
Yep.
know these resources exist.
Yes.
And they are so many, especially now with the internet being
Mhm.
so prevalent.
Mhm.
These resources are literally the tips of your fingers. I just signed up for a conference that's 100% online and it's at your own pace. So there's panels that you can rewatch and things like that. You could submit questions and have them answered on the next panel. And
Mhm.
it's just amazing, the resources. And,
Yeah.
things like book coaches are coming out now as like a really up and coming industry. If people are realizing how much support can go into making a book amazing.
Oh man, that would have been so great to have with my first couple. Just to have somebody kind of steer along the way so I wouldn't have to learn everything through school of hard knocks. I mean, I've never learned a lesson easily in my life. I learn them the hardest way possible, and then I go back and do it again and learn it even harder. Um, I love hearing that book coaches are becoming a thing. Definitely wish I would have had one to work with
Yeah.
in the early days, for sure. Like just someone to kind of be a mentor and a cheerleader along the way.
That's what I felt like
Yeah.
too. And so when I decided to become a book coach, I reflected so heavily back on my first book, just like you're doing now, going, oh, it would have been so nice if somebody had been there.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
it's such a, like, you and I we're both indie published and you're traditionally published as well. And as an indie publisher, a published author, especially, and I can't speak for the traditional, I'm not traditionally published, but as an indie author, there is a steep, steep learning curve that you have to go through. And like you said, a lot of trial and error to get you there. What was it like 10 years ago when you published your book?
Um, Super, super proud moment, especially when I got the first hard copy, and then horror, because even though I'd had proofed it and I had contracted with an editor and I'd done like all the things that I thought you were supposed to do, I'm reading it and finding errors. And so then I'm online, trying to upload a new file and get it all fixed, and trying to figure out cover art and the back cover blurb and what's going to make a good one and what's going to make it seem like it was just a vanity project. I really wanted to feel like, I'm doing air quotes again, a real writer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I was horrified. I found a typo, couple of them, and it was just horrified. So then I go and I get the whole thing fixed and continue reading again. And then super, super proud. And then, oh my gosh, now what? Because there's the marketing and there's getting it sold and getting it out there. So I would go to independent bookstores and say, hey, could I place a couple copies, do consignment or something? And that's another lesson in humility. If they can't order it off of Ingram, they're not really all that interested.
Mm-hmm.
So it became a lot of, well, I did this and I worked so hard on it and it's really, really good, but I can't get it out there. I can't get it in front of anyone. And Amazon's, marketing and support resources have really increased over the years. But even now there's this feeling of, okay, I could spend hundreds of dollars to get maybe that much back in royalty sales. Like the break even and the return on investment is hard. So it's super humbling, but I'm still super proud of it.
It is such a funny balance, isn't it? Because I
Mhm.
agree with you 100%. And I will be the first to admit I have not read my book since it's been published because I'm too scared of exactly what you described. And I know there's errors in it. And I know there's the odd spelling mistake. And there's one word in my mind that sticks out that I know I think I threw an E on the end and I shouldn't have. But I take solace in the fact that every book I read has errors in it. And it
Exactly.
does not matter who the author is. Every book, errors slip through.
Yep.
And
I
so
remember talking to my therapist about it a few years ago before I did the memoir. And it's like, it's ridiculous. There's errors. I just look like a joke. I can't be taken seriously. And, I'm such a perfectionist at heart. I really want everything to be good. I wanted it to be just as incredible as I knew it could be. What happens when you read a book that's got a typo in it? I don't know. I just move on. Why would your readers be any different? Why are they going to stop and think that it's a reflection on your intelligence and your abilities because there's a typo?
mm-hmm.
everything's got a typo in it. And then I was reading a brand new best-selling memoir that just came out a few weeks ago from someone, and there's a typo in the Kindle version. Oh my gosh. Okay, there's a typo in theirs too. Like this is Big House Publishing. This is, the Harpers, the Random Houses of the world, and there's a typo in it. Okay. I can give myself some grace. I'm human. It doesn't take away from the fact that there's a lot of work in it. There's a really good story, and I did what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Learning to give myself some grace was a challenge.
Yeah. I think we're so good as humans at comparing ourselves to other people's perfection. And we forget that nobody is perfect.
Nobody.
It doesn't matter who you are. Nobody is perfect.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really great. That's really great. So tell us a bit more about your third book. So your first two were indie published. And then your third book, you got picked up by a publisher. How was that process for you?
Kismet. I mean, kind of like the universe brought everybody together. I have a day job and was working at this new day job. And one of the women that I worked with and I were talking, kind of one of those intro get to know you calls. And she was talking about her memoir that she'd written. And I was so excited for her and went out and bought it right away, reading about it, and then looked at the back and was like, okay, maybe I'll check out this publisher and see if they're accepting new authors or new, if there's a way. Still didn't have an agent. So I emailed their info page through their website, got a response back within a couple of days. It said, would you be interested? I have this memoir, just finished it up. Seems really in line with the work that the authors that you publish. Would love for you to take a look at it. He read it, said, yep, it's great. Would love to see it. Let's talk. And then my friend at work said, okay, what do I do? He's reached out. He wants to know, my take, and I want to support you. And I want to, present you in the best light possible. So how do I help? What would you like me to highlight? What would you like me to really emphasize? So she was a cheerleader from the get-go. Her name's Nikki McCallum. She's absolutely incredible. And I think without having taken that job, completely unrelated to the book world, it wouldn't have happened as easily as it did. But it was, she was kind of the catalyst for it. And then I spent the next 8 or 9 months working with a cover art designer, working with my editor to get it all cleaned up and typo free, and working with him to get the format and everything right. At the time, I was going to use a couple of song lyric quotes. So I was going back and forth with the owner of the publishing rights. Took them months and months and months, and I missed a couple of deadlines, and finally was like, I'm just going to take them out. I can't get permission. And of course, the week that the book comes out, they finally respond and say, hey, for $300 each, you can use these 2 quotes. And well, the book's done now, so never mind. Maybe the next version. So yeah, it was great. I learned you still have to do a lot of the legwork on your own, especially traditional publishing with a small house. You're still paying all the upfront cost yourself. They'll support and promote, but it's on you to really get out and get in front of everybody. So I think the work is still the same. I had to pay for my editor out of pocket. I had to pay for all the marketing out of pocket. And he did the promotion on his social pages and has held up his end of the contract to the letter. It's still an uphill climb. You're a new author. For me, it was a new genre. So everything was still an uphill climb. Still is. But no regrets. Love it. He's been a great cheerleader. I just talked to him a couple of days ago, and it's like, okay, we've got your new sales report, and we'll be doing tallying that up and getting your royalty check out after the first of the year. And good for you. We're excited. So he's a great cheerleader. I think I just thought, okay, I have a publisher now. It's going to be easy. I can sit back and just wait until the money starts rolling in, and it just doesn't happen like that. It's just as much work.
Yeah, for new authors, it is hard to break through for
Mhm.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Very cool. What messages do you have for people that want to write a book but just haven't taken that leap yet?
Go for it. Why not you? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Like, anybody can be a writer. Take your time, take it seriously, be authentic. Don't try to copy anybody else's voice. Just dive in and be you. Go for it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
And
think that's for everybody.
yeah, I would just add to that, like, and based off of what you've said too, is research it.
Yes. Get your
Do the
book out.
groundwork.
Yeah.
Right? Just like anything you would do. Let's say you take on a construction project. You're going to research it. You're going to look up and read the instructions and the how-to
Absolutely.
manuals. Why wouldn't you approach this the same way? And in some cases, you're going to hire a contractor. So hire a book coach, hire a ghostwriter if that's how you need to become an author to get your story told.
Mhm.
Support yourself because the
Mhm.
supports exist.
Absolutely. The support's there. And I think had I known more about the support resources that were available with my first two, or even just been a little less stubborn and thick-headed and I'm going to do it all by myself, I probably could have made it easier for myself. But I was very determined, no, I'm going to do this on my own and I have so much to prove. And the chip on my shoulder was fairly huge at the time. So I think I would definitely, looking back, could have made it easier on myself, taken advantage of the resources. The conferences were great. They taught me everything I needed to know foundationally. I think I could have networked a little bit better. Could have leveraged contacts a little bit better. But again, then, that little voice creeps in of, well, they're real writers and you're not, you're just a hobbyist. So, believe in myself a little bit and take advantage of the help that was there. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. That's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I want to finish off by saying, where can we find your work? You've got 3 books out there. Where can we find them?
Amazon, of course. You can find all 3 on Amazon. You can find the last one on Amazon and Target. I believe it's still on Barnes and Noble, and independent bookstores can order it. So you can put the request in and they can have it sent straight to them. They're also on Kindle, and I'm in the process of auditioning narrators to get them all put on Audible. Really, really excited about that, especially for next generation. My kids don't read books. They're readers, but they don't read books. They don't have the time for it. They listen. They love audiobooks. So that seems like a way to reach an entire new generation. So I'm really, really excited to get those out and done.
I feel like we could do a whole other episode on audiobooks because I love audiobooks. I only just discovered them. I'm a big reader, long-term reader, been reading my whole life, but I could only get through 3-4 books a year because of my schedule and my pace of reading was slow but enjoyable. Slow but enjoyable. There's nothing wrong with being a slow reader. And I discovered audiobooks. I'm gonna say almost a year to the day now, and it has changed my reading habits. It's so good. I haven't, and this is maybe bad of an author to say, outside of my own books, I haven't picked up a book in about a year. That's not true. I've picked up textbooks and things like that, but those don't count.
Yeah. I'm one of those readers. I'm a really fast reader, but I am just down a rabbit hole. So reading a lot didn't work well with parenting, because when I start a book, I want to finish it like that same sitting. And that doesn't really work when you're trying to raise kids and have a life and keep a job and all the things. So I used to travel a lot for work, and I would read all the time on the flights. Now, when I travel, that's one of the things I do. I load up my Kindle with 3 or 4 books to read on the train ride and on the flight. And but yeah, similarly, I hadn't just picked up a book and sat and read a little bit and put it down and picked it up again. I hadn't done that forever. And I'm such a rabbit hole kind of reader. I have to go all the way down. And the other thing I do is when I discover a new a new author, I have to have everything they've ever written. So I will just go on a buying spree. When I discovered Rebecca Forster, bought everything she'd ever written. Same thing with Gillian Flynn. And they're authors I just stumbled on of, hey, Kindle recommends, Amazon recommends, and okay, we'll check it out. And next thing you know, I'm buying 15 different books.
Yeah. And your TBR is getting higher and higher.
Yep. Bigger and bigger and bolder. Yeah. So crazy.
It's
excited about the audiobook. Hopefully those will be out by spring. Still trying to find the right voice. I know I don't want to do it. I don't want to be the voice of my own books. I want somebody else to, but they have to have the right. I'll know it when I hear it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's really great. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, and good luck with your next journey of writing your mystery novel. That's very exciting. And I'm sure we'll see it in, what do you think, a year, 2 years?
I'd say give it a year. Yeah.
Give it a year.
Yeah. Hopefully you'll be ready to go in about a year.